असूयुतोऽथवा तादिथ सन्निरुद्धो वा वृत्त्या वा परिहापित निश्च्युतो मूत्रितो वग्न्यैर्. Oh, we finished this. Did I think I didn't. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Uma Gyanatamrindasya Gyanajana Shalakya Chakshurun Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Manamam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namni नमस्ते सारस्वत देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारने निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारने जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. श्री उद्धव उवाच यतैवम् अनुबुध्येयं वदनो वदतां वर. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 22, Text 60. Sri Uddhava said, O best of all speakers, please explain to me how I may properly understand this. Because Krishna had said that even though neglected, insulted, ridiculed, or envied by bad men, or even though repeatedly agitated by being beaten up, tied up, or deprived of one's occupation, spat upon, or polluted with urine by ignorant people, one who desires the highest goal in life should, in spite of all these difficulties, use his intelligence to keep himself safe on the spiritual platform. So Uddhava wanted a proper understanding of this. And so the next verse is also the question, and then the next chapter is going to be an answer, one full chapter, an answer to his question. Sudussaham imam manya atmani asad atikramam vidusham api vishvatman prakritir hi baliyasi ritetvad dharma nirtan santam ste charanalayan. O soul of the universe, the conditioning of one's personality in material life is very strong, and therefore it's very difficult even for learned men to tolerate the offenses committed against them by ignorant people. Only your devotees who are fixed in your loving service and who have achieved peace by residing at your lotus feet are able to tolerate such offenses. Purport. Unless one becomes advanced in the process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord, theoretical learning cannot make one actually saintly. One's conditioned personality, the result of long material association, is very difficult to overcome. Therefore, we should humbly take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who has so wonderfully explained to Sri Uddhava the real meaning of knowledge. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 11th canto, 22nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Enumeration of the Elements of Material Creation. So, chapter 23, in reply to his questions, is the chapter called, the famous chapter, The Song of the Avanti Brahmana. This chapter tells the story of a mendicant sannyasi from Avanti country as an example of how one should tolerate the disturbances and offenses created by evil persons. The harsh words of uncouth persons pierce the heart even more severely than arrows. Yet a mendicant Brahmana from the city of Avanti, even while being attacked by wicked men, considered this trouble to be simply the consequence of his own past deeds and tolerated it with utmost sobriety. Previously, the Brahmana had been an agriculturalist and merchant. He had been extremely greedy, miserly, and prone to anger. As a result, his wife, sons, daughters, relatives, and servants were all deprived of every kind of enjoyment and gradually came to behave unaffectionately towards him. In due course of time, thieves, family members, and Providence took away the sum total of his wealth. Finding himself without any property and abandoned by everyone, the Brahmana developed a deep sense of renunciation. He considered how the earning and preservation of wealth involved great effort, fear, anxiety, and confusion. Because of wealth, there arise 15 unwanted items: thievery, violence, lying, deception, lust, anger, pride, feverishness, disagreement, hatred, distrust, conflict, attachment to women, gambling, and intoxication. When this meditation arose in his heart, the Brahmana could understand that the Supreme Lord Hari had somehow become satisfied with him. He felt that only because the Lord was pleased with him had the apparently unfavorable turn of events in his life occurred. He was grateful that a sense of detachment had arisen in his heart and considered it the factual means for delivering his soul. In this connection, he determined to engage the duration of his life in the worship of Lord Hari, um, and thus accepted the mendicant order of Tridandi Sannyasa. Subsequently, he would enter different villages to beg charity, but the people would harass and disturb him. But he simply tolerated all this, remaining firm as a mountain. He remained fixed in his chosen spiritual practice and sang a song renowned as the Bhikshu Gita. Neither mortal persons, the demigods, the soul, the ruling planets, the reactions of work, nor time are the causes of one's happiness and distress. Rather, the mind alone is their cause, because it's the mind that makes the spirit soul wander in the cycle of material life. The real purpose of all charity, religiosity, and so forth is to bring the mind under control. A person who has already composed his mind in meditation has no need for these other processes. And for a person who's incapable of fixing his mind, they're of no practical use. The false conception of material ego binds the transcendental soul to material sense objects. The Avanti Brahmana therefore became determined to bring himself over the insurmountable ocean of material existence by rendering service to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Mukunda with the same perfect faith in the Lord exhibited by the great devotees of the past. Only when one can focus his intelligence on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can the mind be completely subdued. This is the essence of all practical prescriptions for spiritual advancement. Text 1. Sri Bhadarayana Uvacha Sa evam Ashamsita Uddhavena Bhagavata Mukyena Dasarha Mukya Sabhajan Bhrityavacho Mukundas Tam Abha Bhasi Shravaniya Virya. Sukadeva Goswami said, Lord Mukunda, the chief of the Dasarhas, Dasarha, then another name for Yadus, having thus been respectfully requested by the best of his devotees, Sri Uddhava first acknowledged the fitness of his servant's statements. Then the Lord, whose glorious exploits are most worthy of being heard, began to reply to him. So many things. First of all, how we see how we have to very respectfully do inquiries to Krishna or to Guru, and And also, the questions have to be very proper. And that then the Lord, whose glorious exploits are most worthy of being heard, began to reply to him. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Barhaspatya nasti atra sadurvai durjaneritai duruktair bhinnam atmanam ya samadhatumishvara. Lord Sri Krishna said, O disciple of Brihaspati, there is virtually no saintly man in this world capable of resettling his own mind after it has been disturbed by the insulting words of uncivilized men. So, in the modern age, there's a widespread propaganda ridiculing the path of spiritual realization, and thus even saintly devotees are disturbed to see the progress of human society being obstructed. Still, a devotee of the Lord must tolerate any personal insult, though he cannot tolerate offense against the Lord himself or the Lord's pure devotee. So, Krishna is saying that even for sadhus, it's very difficult to settle his mind after it has been disturbed by the insulting words of civilized man. That's the most difficult thing. People, you know, they may even become detached from material wealth and all that. But getting free from this false ego of being treated nicely by others, very difficult to overcome. But still, a devotee of the Lord must tolerate any personal insult, though he should not tolerate any insult to the Lord or his pure devotee. Uh, so, how are saintly devotees? I mean, they are preaching, and so naturally there'll be a lot of obstruction and people who ridicule them. न तात तप्यते विद्ध पुमान बाणैस्तु मर्मगै यथा तुदन्ति मर्मस्ता कि असथाम parusheshava. Sharp arrows which pierce one's chest and reach the heart do not cause as much suffering as the arrows of harsh, insulting words that become lodged within the heart when spoken by uncivilized men. Naturally, civilized people will not talk like that. Harsh words, unnecessarily saying something to, because it's more powerful than a physical weapons. Physical weapons or, weapons or even your physical strength can subdue a person physically, but mind is completely crushed by words which are very harsh. Katayanti mahat punyam itihasam ihodava tam aham varnayasyami nibodasu samahita. My dear Uddhava, in this regard, a most pious story is told, and I shall now describe it to you. Please listen with careful attention. The Lord will now relate to Uddhava a historical account which teaches how to tolerate the insults of others. केनचिद् भिक्षुणा गीतं परिभूतेन दुर्जनैः स्मरतां धृतियुक्तेन विपाकं निजकर्मणाम्. Once a certain sannyasi was insulted in many ways by impious men. However, with determination, he remembered that he was suffering the fruit of his own previous karma. I will narrate to you his story and that which he spoke. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura comments as follows. Often, those who give up the materialistic path and devote themselves to renunciation are attacked by impious persons. This analysis, however, is superficial, since the punishment is actually the cumulative result of one's past karma. Some renunciants show lack of tolerance when presented with the remnants of their previous sins, and thus are forced to enter again into the path of impious life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore instructs that one should become as tolerant as a tree. If a neophyte on the path of devotional service to the Lord's pure devotees is attacked by envious persons, he must accept it as a consequence of his previous fruitive activities. One should be intelligent and avoid future unhappiness by rejecting the ethic of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, etc. If one refuses to enter into enmity with envious men, they will automatically leave him alone. So, whatever may be the actual cause, I mean, um, there may be so many causes why somebody may be insulting one, but the real cause is because we have done something in the past. That's the only reason. We may think that, oh, if this person is finished off, that person disappears, then my life will be happy. No. If our karma is there, somebody else will take their place and harass us. There was one devotee, he had his boss always harassing him. So he changed his job. Then in that job also, that boss was harassing him. Then he couldn't tolerate it. Then again he changed another job.
Krishna Hari
There
Hari Ram.
also, huh? So there also his boss started harassing him. Like this, 10 jobs he took up. Every job, boss was harassing him. Then he said, "You still you have not learned. Why? Why don't you just tolerate it and just progress in Krishna consciousness instead of he wandered like this different parts of the world, trying to change his job and trying to find some peace. Because if you have the karma, wherever you go, it will come. So no need to get upset with whoever. I mean, Krishna is giving it, and Krishna reduces it so that just a small token. I mean, if we are very, we realize, oh, I must have done something. Okay, Krishna, it is giving me, let me become detached by all the suffering. Then Krishna really reduces it so that only that much to make us, rectified. Otherwise, again, we'll do all those things. Krishna is actually treating us with medicine so that again relapse won't happen. Our materialistic activities, because of which we committed all those things and then we are suffering. Again, he doesn't want us to get the bad karma. So, so he's saying if a neophyte on the path of devotional service to the Lord's pure devotees is attacked by envious persons, he must accept it as a consequence of his previous fruitive activities. One should be intelligent and avoid future unhappiness by rejecting the ethic of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So we don't go into revenge because there is no, it's endless. Envious people, you think they'll keep quiet. You attack, they'll again attack. Then you attack, again they'll attack. There is no end to it. And you'll get completely caught into this. Even words are useless. You just speak something, you try to put them down, they'll again put you down. It's just so better to just withdraw. If one refuses to enter into enmity with envious men, they will automatically leave him alone. That's the best path. Avantishu dvijakaschid asid adhyatma shriya varta vritti kadarayastu kamilubdhoti kopana in the country of Avanti. So actually this is very important that Krishna is explaining all this because otherwise, many times devotees get bewildered. Ever since I started doing this devotional service, I'm getting all problems. I don't know what is the use of doing devotional service and all that. Actually, Krishna is helping because when you're taking medicine, you should also follow prescribed diet, and otherwise there'll be a relapse. So Krishna is automatically reducing our diet so that it becomes, uh, you know, fit. It's the proper thing to have to make spiritual progress. In the country of Avanti, there once lived a certain Brahmana who was very rich and gifted with all opulences and was engaged in the occupation of commerce.
వాళ్ళు మస్క చెప్తుంటారు
Um,
ఆ?
who was engaged in the occupation of commerce, but he was miserly person, lusty, greedy, and very prone to anger. According to Srila Sridhara Swami, the Avanti country is the district of Malwa. This Brahmana was extremely wealthy, doing business in agriculture, banking, and so on. Being a miser, he suffered agony when his hard earned money wealth was lost, as will be described by the Lord himself. Malwa is in Rajasthan, right?
It's Madhya Pradesh, Mataji.
Madhya Pradesh, okay.
Actually, this is the old name of Ujjain. One of the name of Avanti is
Ujjain,
Ujjain.
Okay.
Yes, Mataji.
I was thinking, but then, okay. Gyatayotitayastasya vanmatrenapi narchita sunyavasata atmapi kale kamer anarchita. In his home, devoid of religiosity and lawful sense gratification, the family members and guests were never properly respected, even with words. He would not even allow sufficient gratification for his own body at the suitable times. So, this is the life of a miser who's also not following any religion. So, automatically, one becomes very puffed up and doesn't know how to treat others, how to properly respect others, and give pleasing words. And not only that, he didn't even satisfy his own body. Dushilasya kadaryasya dhruhyante putra bandhava dhara duhitaro britya vishannanacharam priyam. Since he was so hard-hearted and miserly, his sons, in-laws, wife, daughters, and servants began to feel inimical towards him. Becoming disgusted, they would never treat him with affection. So that tasyaivam yakshavittasya sutasyo vaya lokata dharmakama vihinasya tukrudu panchabhagina. In this way, the presiding deities of the 5 family sacrifices became angry at the Brahmana, who, being niggardly, guarded his wealth like a yaksha, who had no good destination either in this world or the next, and was totally deprived of religiosity and sense enjoyment. That also, dharma, artha, only artha he had. No dharma, no kama also. And because he was so miserly and he guarded his wealth like a yaksha. Yaksha, we know, sometimes they have, some lake, they will say, this belongs to me. And anybody comes, we saw the Pandavas, how they died because of drinking water. So, and we know that yakshas, the most famous yaksha is Kubera. And initially, Kubera was miserly like that, very attached to money. He wouldn't give anybody anything. Then Shiva taught him a nice lesson. And then he became very humble and became his devotee. He took away all his wealth. And then he satisfied Shiva. And Shiva said, you will, you'll have the wealth. I mean, you'll be the custodian of all the wealth of the Devatas, but you must use it for all beneficial purposes. So he agreed, and that's how he again got back his money. So he's also a yaksha. Tad avadhyana vishrasta punyaskandasya bhuridha artopi agachan nidanam bahva yasa parishrama. O magnanimous Uddhava, by his neglect of these demigods, he depleted his stock of piety and all his wealth. The accumulation of his repeated exhaustive endeavors was totally lost. The Brahmana's stock of piety became like a withered branch that no longer gives fruits or flowers. Srila Jiva Goswami comments that the Brahmana had a trace of piety directed at the Supreme Lord with hopes of liberation. That pure portion of the branch of his piety remained unwithered, eventually giving the fruit of knowledge. So, even, I mean, we are a mixed bag normally. We have some good points and bad also. So, even though he was very materially, very miserly and had no good qualities, not religious, nothing. And he was, whatever piety he had done in the past by which he had got some wealth, that was also fast depleting, because unless you worship, I mean, unless you continue being pious and only do impious things, then all that will be finished, depleted. The accumulation of his repeated exhaustive endeavors was totally lost. But one small thing remained, which is hope of liberation. That was the trace of piety. That pure portion of the branch of his piety remained unwithered, eventually giving the fruit of knowledge. Gnatyo jagruhu kinchit kinchin dasyava uddhava daivata kalata kinchid brahma bandho nriparthivat. Some of the wealth of this so-called Brahmana was taken away by his relatives, my dear Uddhava, some by thieves, some by the whims of providence, some by the effects of time, some by ordinary men, and some by government authorities. It appears that even though the so-called Brahmana was determined not to spend his money, his wife and other relatives managed to squeeze out a portion. According to Srila Sridhara Swami, providence here refers to fires in the home and other types of occasional misfortune. Effects of time here refers to the destruction of agricultural crops through seasonal irregularities and other such occurrences. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura points out that one should not merely proclaim oneself to be a Brahmana, but should actually understand one's original identity as a servant of the Lord. One declaring himself to be a Brahmana but maintaining a materialistic mentality is not a real Brahmana, but rather Brahma Bandhu or so called Brahmana. The humble devotees of Lord Vishnu, following the indications of the Vedic scriptures, refer to themselves as unfortunate and unable to understand the kingdom of God. They do not proudly proclaim themselves to be Brahmanas. Those who are wise, however, know that such humble devotees are actually Brahmanas, whose hearts are cleansed by the pure mode of goodness. So the too much attachment to wealth makes one in the mode of passion and ignorance, and so automatically one does all impious things. Why did he have to be like that? That he won't even, why should he become so attached that the affection for one's family is also lost? One doesn't, I mean, that's the nature. The mode is made like that, that you become attached to that, then automatically you will not be in the mode of goodness, being affectionate, kind, um, giving, I mean, spending it on others, and also maintaining oneself. You're supposed to maintain yourselves also properly. That also one doesn't do. And then on religious things, giving it to devatas. Um, of course, that is the those who are doing karma kanda first have to give it to devatas, or of course, Krishna consciousness. We spend it for Krishna. So unless one does that, see, to overcome uh, too much attachment to wealth, one has to give charity. By charity, one develops a kind of detachment. Of course, right kind of charity, and not something whimsical, but properly considered and so on. And very practical. But one has to continue doing all these religious activities. Otherwise, we'll go into tamoguna and rajoguna, and then we'll start misbehaving. Where was the need to do all that? So that happens. If we don't do all religious activities, then our heart will become hard and we'll start doing unnecessarily being mean to others. And so the reactions will come. And sa evam dravine nashte dharmakama vivarjita upekshitascha swajanais chintam apa duratyayam. Finally, when his property was completely lost, he who never engaged in religiosity or sense enjoyment became ignored by his family members. Thus, he began to feel unbearable anxiety. So, this is the funny mindset of a materialist. He is nasty to them, but he expected that they should be nice to him. How can he expect that? So, he neither had sense enjoyment. I mean, family sticks to you. I mean, materialistic family, they expect something either because of sense gratification or religious. Both he never did. And so he became ignored by his family members. And then he began to feel unbearable anxiety. Tasyaivam dhyayato dirgam nashtarayas tapasvina hidyato bhasvakantasya nirveda su mahanabhut. Having lost all his wealth, he felt great pain and lamentation. His throat choked up with tears, and he meditated for a long time on his fortune. Then a powerful feeling of renunciation came over him. The Brahmana had previously been trained in pious life, but his past goodness was covered by his offensive behavior. Finally, his previous purity was reawakened within him. So Krishna is constantly helping. He only decides when what reaction should come. So, and he only, because of his kindness, he did this to the Brahmana because he knew he had some piety left. That piety which will help him to become detached and think about his liberation. Sachahedam aho kashtam vritatma me anutapita na dharmaya na kamaya yasyartas yasa idrisha. The Brahmana spoke as follows: Oh, what great misfortune! I've simply tormented myself uselessly, struggling so hard for money that was not even intended for religiosity or material enjoyment. I'm very sad for somebody who's miserly, who simply likes money for its own sake, neither spending it for sense gratification or for religiosity. Minimum is at least sense gratification, then okay, you fulfilled something. That materially also no happiness and spiritually also no, nothing. And now he is able to see that I've simply tormented myself uselessly. Prayenartha kedaryanam na sukaya kadachana ihachatmupatapyapaya mritasya narakaya cha. Generally, the, the wealth of misers never allows them any happiness. In this life, it causes their self torment, and when they die, it sends them to hell. A miser is afraid to spend his money even for obligatory religious and social duties. Offending God and people in general, he goes to hell. Yasyo yashasvinam shuddham slagya ye guninam guna lobasvalpo apitan hanti shvitro rupam ivepsitam. Whatever pure fame is possessed by the famous, and whatever praiseworthy qualities are found in the virtuous, are destroyed by even a small amount of greed, just as one's attractive physical beauty is ruined by the trace of white leprosy. Right? Even a small dot on the face, white patch, finished. That beauty is tarnished. So, in the same way, all good qualities. All virtues are destroyed by even a small amount of greed for money. Money is Lakshmi, energy of Krishna. We should always connect it with Krishna. Krishna's mercy, I've got this, not that on my own I got it. Then one will become this thing, miserly. They'll say, oh, I worked so hard and earned this money. So one becomes attached like that. Miserliness comes when one, normally when you inherit the inherited money, one is not so much miserly as when you worked hard and earned the money, then they feel, oh, it's all my sweat and this thing, I must keep it safe. And then um, greed. The miserliness is generally greed. A miser wants more and more and more and more. He just wants to see the wealth grow without spending it. So that is a very bad thing. It can destroy, even if you have other good qualities, that attachment to the money like that, greedy and miserly, can can be ruined, destroyed by even a small amount, all the good qualities. अर्थस्य साधने सिद्धे उत्कर्षे रक्षणे व्यये नासोपभोग आयासस् त्रासश्चिन्ता भ्रमो नृणाम्. In the earning, attainment, increase, protection, expense, loss, and enjoyment of wealth, all men experience great labor, fear, anxiety, and delusion. So that is what, because we don't know whether we think it's limited, right? That's the reason why people are anxious for protecting it and very disturbed when there's a loss. So there's a lot of labor, fear, anxiety, and delusion. People just, I mean, yes, in the earning, then after you attain, and when it increases, for the protection, expense, loss, and enjoyment of wealth, all men experience great labor, fear, anxiety, and delusion. Because seeing wealth as apart from Krishna and thinking that it belongs to me and I only created that wealth, that is the reason one will have all this, will work too much without considering anything else. One will be very afraid of losing it, great anxiety and delusion. The whole world, this is how people are psyched into just money. For money, anything is okay. Anything. Like how parents are sending off their children to, this quota business. How many children are committing suicide in the last few days, in the last 1 week? So many children committing suicide there. Now, did the parents, first of all, they should see what is reasonable. Why should you go to quota and all that? If you can do it, do it. IIT, here only some coaching class. Easily you do. Otherwise, where's the need? Why push the child, poor thing, and then put such pressures? You are our great hope. We'll feel so proud if you join IIT and earn crores of money. All these things that child would have heard. Ambitious parents putting all such thoughts in the child, and then it feels, oh, I'm not able to cope. Then they just commit suicide. If the parents didn't even bother to see whether the child is happy there, whether he's able to cope with the studies. And no problem if you are not able to make it, doesn't matter. Whatever you can easily do it. I mean, with a little hard work, that's enough. Where if they had given that kind of, you know, perspective to the child, and now nobody will commit suicide. Imagine in childhood, they're committing suicide. Childhood is a time of dreams, of hope, everything. And then these children, poor thing, they think that if you don't pass this exam, finished, you are useless. And they've written, one girl had written, Mommy, Papa, I'm sorry, I'm useless. I'm no use because I cannot clear this exam. Forgive me. What is this? Just clearly, it is indicating this is the reason. Who's behind all this? Parents. And they push them, go abroad, go to America. Of course, children themselves pick it up also. But there are some parents who push them also, or who are both together. And three people in a row, just together. I don't know if together on the same day, three of them killed. Of course, it can happen anywhere. That is a fact. But it is also more frightening in a distant land. Anything can happen. You're just sending him there, sending the children there, and for greed of money. Okay, sometimes the thing is, they're at any cost. You go there, you lose your culture, you lose your faith, you lose everything, and then you get married to some other other cultured people, and then you completely lose identity of your what is the purpose of life. Everything gone. They don't mind. He's earning nice money. I don't mind. And they're ready to send daughters also abroad alone to go and study there. Not I mean, the greed overtakes their fear for water. Here itself, one night, if the girl doesn't come home, it's very frightening on time. Well, it's very frightening what happened. All kinds of imagination will come to the parents. Maybe this, maybe that. It's very frightening. Anything can happen. One night, this thing, she doesn't come on time, anything can happen. And you send them far away. For what? That's not the purpose of life at all. And that is what it's all coming because this artificially created greed for money. Why should you have so much money? There's no need. But everybody thinks that person has got now, I too should have. And they just lose their intelligence about the purpose of life, be balanced, real happiness. I don't mind if I don't see my child only for the rest of life, but then I can tell everyone my child is in the US and they won't get also any money. When they go to America, they hardly have any savings and they become more stingy, more miserly. And the people who come back on holidays from America, nobody expects anything. They also come hand freely walking. Nobody gives anything. They are the most miserly of the lot. They don't spend for anybody. They become very selfish. You see, you go to that place, demonic place, simply taking gun and shooting people, and then and that one of the boys, he actually took care. He was a homeless person, and he nursed him in his house. And look at that guy just killing him. This is the kind it goes. See, people go mad if you are in such a place where only money, 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 work, 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 nothing else matters. For what? You'll become a crazy person like that. It's very frightening. I hope they come to senses and because in India, I hope because the economy is fast improving and better than any other place, and the intelligent people will think trillion times before sending their children, or the children themselves should get some sense because of, I hope, because of this Ram Bhakti. They can think, why should I go there? And it is not, yeah. Steyam himsantaram himsanritam damba kama krodha smayo mada भेदो वैरम अविश्वास सम संस्पर्धा व्यसना व्यसनानि च एते पंचदशानर्था हि अर्थमूलमतानृणाम् तस्माद् अनर्थम् अर्थाख्यम् श्रेयोर्ति दूरतस्त्यजेत्. Theft, violence, speaking lies, duplicity, lust, anger, perplexity, pride, quarreling, enmity, faithlessness, envy, and the dangers caused by women, gambling, and intoxication are the 15 undesirable qualities that contaminate men because of greed for wealth. Although these qualities are undesirable, men falsely ascribe value to them. One desiring to achieve the real benefit of life should therefore remain aloof from undesirable material wealth. The words anartham, arthakyam, or undesirable wealth indicate wealth that cannot be efficiently engaged in loving service of the Lord. Such superfluous money or property will undoubtedly pollute a man with all of the above mentioned qualities and therefore should be given up. And we are seeing that all these dirty qualities are there with everybody now. The youth who are educated in today's world, hopefully it will change now. But so far, only money, 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 money is everything. And they have all these things: lust, anger, pride, quarreling. And yesterday we were discussing with someone, nowadays marriages don't last more than 2 months. Even devotee children, they don't, because they just don't have any good qualities, nothing. No love, no affection, no service. This all the time looking at the mobile, first of all. No communication, and so selfish and self-centered, and then working hard. Hardly they spend time together because old, they have different working hours. Somebody told me, like, the husband and wife, what their daily schedule was: they'll finish work and come in the night. Both of them have their laptops on the side of the bed. The wife has one computer on the laptop on the left side, I mean one side, and the husband also, because suddenly middle of the night they may get calls, or they have so this is the lifestyle, crazy. And so one desiring to achieve the real benefit of life should therefore remain aloof from undesirable material wealth. It's so dangerous, actually. People think if I have money, I'll be very happy. It is a cause for unhappiness unless we are God conscious and we know how to use money for all religious purposes, also, for also giving it to others, for making charity also. And first of all, you have to spend on yourself also properly, not be stingy. And we may make a virtue out of it. Oh, you know what? I'm very detached and I don't spend much. That is not a virtue. If you have according to your means, you should spend also. Otherwise, you'll become miserly. And you should also take care of guests, relatives, whatever it says in the Shastra somewhere, that even you should give gifts to your own brothers, sisters, family members. That's where the religious festivals are there, where, one is for like Raksha Bandhan, and then you have, what are the yeah, in south, north, both, all the festivals, they have all this, because one must get used to spending money. You can actually, we should plan to make some savings, and other things also we should think how to spend, not bare minimum on just whatever, just to keep body so. Have proper use all for good quality, whatever within the means. One must do it. Otherwise, see, this is what over attachment to money and pride, anger. For the sake of money, they are ready to murder each other. For small, I mean, amounts, what they, I mean, they are ready to cheat people, ready to do anything. And all the bad habits come. Previously, would have not done anything from a village. People, they are leading very pure lives and then go abroad, and immediately, the minute they land on the airport, they start all their bad habits: drinking, smoking, everything. All the Russians, the in to Russia mostly, these they go for studying medicine, right? Because there it's cheap. So they go there, and all the Indians there, here they'll all be coming from pious families. The minute they land there, they will simply start drinking vodka because they go berserk. So cheap. Liquor is so cheap, that too, very strong liquor. So they just keep drinking. And women you can get easily, very easily, and they are very beautiful also. So they never come to the temple. ISKCON in Russia, uh, okay, now with great effort, sometimes they will, even if they come, there is one Indian association, and then they'll tell them, let's go to the temple and all. They'll just attend something and go back. Beyond that, they will never, 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 never get anything more deeper than that, because they are doing all this completely, nobody to check them. And that is a fully lawless place. You can get whatever you want. Gambling also, unlimited gambling is available. they just lose themselves. And then they went there to study. Then they don't want to come back to India. They get a job there only because unlimited sense gratification, nobody to question you. So it is, I don't know, people have to consider everything. And then they'll marry the Russian women also, because Russian women are very soft. I mean, for some time, very soft, very service attitude. I mean, very, very humble, very beautiful. So Indian men get married. After some time, after some years, that is when they will exercise their something. So sometimes it doesn't work also, they get divorced. But like this, how people get completely misguided and born in India, in Bharat, and then hope all these things are a thing of the past. And because of Modi ji's effort and also ISKCON preaching, I hope more people get some sense and become, yeah, realize what is the purpose of life. Hare Krishna. Okay, stop now. Any questions or comments? It's really very asuric, the lifestyle they follow, and everyone here is trying to ape them and becoming asuras in the bargain. Too many asuric qualities. I hope because of, everybody is chanting Jai Sri Ram, I hope it improves and people become pious again, which is actually the Indian this thing, Vedic way of life. Okay, let's pray now. Pray for His Holiness Jab tak Swami's complete recovery and good health. We require him